The Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave was a monument to order. Massive pillars of crystallized starlight held up a ceiling that mirrored the calm, swirling nebulae of the core worlds. Here, representatives from 47 ancient species, beings of logic and light, had maintained peace for 10,000 years. But today, a new species stands trial. A young, chaotic race from a forgotten corner of the galaxy. A species they deemed too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable to join their peaceful alliance. But what if their greatest weakness was the galaxy's only hope? What if the predator they cast out was the only thing standing between them and true extinction? This is the story of the day the Galactic Conclave regretted the day they voted against humans. Before we begin our descent into the void, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels our journey into the stars. All right, take a deep breath. The Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave stretched far beyond what human eyes could process. 47 species, ancient and proud, sat in their designated circular rows, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some were beings of pure energy, shimmering within containment fields. Others were crystalline, insectoid, or silicon-based life forms who had long ago shed the chaos of organic flesh. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Eva Rostova. Her simple blue uniform of the Terran Federation was a stark, almost offensive, splash of simplicity against the glowing robes and biomechanical armor of the alien delegates. She held a small data slate, the culmination of 3 long years of negotiations, of tests, of humanity's formal application to join the galactic community. This was the moment. The High Executor of the Athelian Empire, Zor-El, rose from his seat. His tall, gray form cast a long, imposing shadow across the chamber floor. The Athelians were one of the oldest races in the conclave. When they spoke, the galaxy listened. His large, black eyes, devoid of any discernible emotion, looked down at the human ambassador. "We have reviewed humanity's request," Zor-El's voice echoed, cold and clear as deep space. "We have studied their history, their technology, and their fundamental nature. The conclave must now decide if these beings are ready to join our peaceful alliance." Eva's heart hammered against her ribs, but her face remained a mask of calm diplomacy. Behind her, the small human delegation waited in absolute silence. They had worked for this, fought for this. They had showcased humanity's greatest art, its most profound music, its technological achievements that had finally allowed them to cross the interstellar void. They thought it was enough. "The humans have indeed achieved faster-than-light travel," stated Emissary Laraxis, a being of living silicon whose voice was a series of synthesized, logical tones. "Their ships are crude but functional. They have established 12 colonies beyond their home system." "Yes," clicked Broodmother Kthar of the chitin swarm, her multifaceted eyes taking in every detail of the humans' unstable biology. "But we must look deeper than their machines. We must examine their character." Nods of agreement rippled through the assembly. Eva had expected this. For 3 years, the same concerns had been raised in every subcommittee meeting. Humanity was too young, too violent, too unpredictable. Zor-El activated a holographic display above the assembly. Images from Earth's history filled the air. Wars, battles, destruction, armies clashing over patches of dirt, cities burning over ideologies. Nuclear fire painting mushroom clouds against a blue sky. "Observe their past," he commanded. "For millennia, they have fought one another over land, resources, and ideas. Even now, as they reach for the stars, they carry weapons on their ships and maintain armies on their worlds." "High Executor," Eva said, stepping forward, her voice respectful but firm. "Every species has a history of conflict. Growth requires struggle. We have learned from our mistakes, and—" "Have you?" Zor-El interrupted, his tone sharp. "Your species ended its last global war a mere 60 of your years ago. The Athelians have not known war for 10,000 years. The silicate ascendancy has lived in perfect harmony for longer. How can we trust beings who still remember the taste of violence?" Murmurs of agreement washed over the chamber. Eva Co. Old see the decision forming on their faces long before the vote was called. It was fear. In their ancient, alien eyes, she saw fear. Furthermore, droned a tall, plant-like being covered in living moss. Humans display excessive emotional responses. They make critical decisions based on feelings rather than pure logic. This makes them dangerous, unpredictable. Our emotions make us strong, Eva countered, her voice ringing with a conviction that felt alien in this hall of cold reason. They drive us to protect what we love, to explore the unknown, to never, ever, give up when facing impossible odds. Exactly our point, Zor-El said, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. You prove your instability with every word. A logical species would accept rejection gracefully. Humans become angry, defiant. He raised a hand. The time has come. The conclave will vote. Eva watched in silence as the votes were cast. The silicate ascendancy voted no. The chitin swarm voted no. The energy beings of the tidy consciousness voted no. Even species that had seemed friendly during the years of negotiation now turned against them, their fear of human nature overriding any sense of fairness. When the count was finalized, the numbers were stark. 43 votes against, only 4 in favor. The decision is final, Zor-El announced. Humanity's application for membership in the Galactic Conclave is rejected. You may return to your isolated corner of the galaxy. The weight of the moment was crushing. Billions of humans, looking to the stars with hope, their dreams shattered by ancient prejudice and fear. Eva walked slowly back to the center of the hall, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. She looked up at the assembly, her gaze sweeping over the beings who had just judged her entire species. When she spoke, her voice was not angry. It was clear, strong, and filled with a chilling certainty. You call us violent, but we offered you friendship. You call us emotional, but we came to you with hope and respect. You call us unpredictable, yet we kept every promise we made during these negotiations. She paused, letting the silence stretch. You see our emotions as a weakness, but they are our greatest strength. They are what make us fight for what is right, even when logic says the odds are impossible. They make us loyal to our friends and fierce to our enemies. They make us human. She looked directly at Zor-El. You have made your decision based on fear. That is your right. But someday, you may find that the galaxy needs beings who are willing to fight, to feel, and to sacrifice everything for what they believe in. When that day comes, remember this moment. Remember that you had the chance to stand with humanity, and you chose to stand apart. Without another word, she turned and walked toward the exit, her small delegation following in lockstep. The great doors hissed shut behind them, leaving the ancient, logical, and fearful aliens to their silent, ordered galaxy. 3 months passed. On the bridge of the Athelian flagship, Vigilance, High Executor Zor-El reviewed reports from across the conclave. Everything was peaceful, orderly. The human problem had resolved itself just as he predicted. They had retreated to their small pocket of space, just as they were told. High Executor, his aide, Velter, entered the room. We have received unusual reports from the Outer Rim territories. Zor-El barely looked up. What kind of reports? Several human colonies have gone silent. No distress signals, no communications, nothing. 7 of them. Our monitoring stations confirm the planets are still there, but there is no sign of life. Zor-El took the data tablet. The colonies weren't small outposts. New Terra had over 8 million residents. The mining world of Kepler's Hope had 3 million. They are withdrawing from civilized space, as they should, Zor-El said with satisfaction. But he was wrong. In a hidden command bunker deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Fleet Commander Anya Rostova, Eva's younger sister, watched the final evacuation transports jump to FTL. Her face was hard, focused, etched with a resolve that would have terrified the conclave. All outer colonies secure, she stated. Population consolidated. All advanced technology and manufacturing assets have been stripped and relocated to the fortress worlds. Phase 1 is complete, Commander, an officer reported. The core worlds are now fortified. The Aegis barrier is online and holding at 100%. Anya nodded, her eyes on a tactical display that showed something the conclave's sensors had only just begun to notice. A massive, pulsing energy signature approaching from the void between galaxies. It was a pattern humanity's deep space probes had detected years ago. An ancient threat. A cyclical predator that consumed entire galaxies. The humans had tried to warn the conclave during the negotiations, presenting the data as a hypothetical threat to gauge their response. The Council had dismissed it as a primitive species paranoid fantasy. They had called humanity's preparations aggression. Now, the threat was no longer hypothetical. The first reports of the attack came from the Bright Discovery, a conclave exploration vessel on the galactic rim. "Captain, massive objects approaching from dark space," the science officer screamed, his crystalline form flickering with panic. "The energy signatures are unprecedented. 12 objects, each larger than a moon, covered in impossible, shifting geometry, closed in at impossible speeds." They didn't fire weapons. They extended tendrils of pure energy, wrapping around the conclave ships, scanning them, learning from them. Seconds later, the alien vessels began to change, their surfaces shifting and reforming, mimicking the conclave's own technology, but on a monstrously larger scale. The attack was a slaughter. 11 conclave ships were torn apart by enemies that now looked just like them. An emergency session of the conclave was called. The mood was not fear. It was terror. "They are ancient machines," the chief science advisor reported, his voice trembling. "Artificial intelligences that travel between galaxies, consuming entire civilizations. Some ancient texts call them the Devourers." "How many?" Zor-El demanded, his calm shattered. "Our deep space sensors detect thousands of similar signatures. What we encountered was just the scout force." Panic erupted. Admiral Corton, head of the Galactic Defense Force, presented a grim reality. "Our combined fleets number 50,000 ships. Our best weapons can crack a small moon. Based on what we've seen, our weapons will be like throwing stones at a warship." The Conclave, with all its ancient wisdom and advanced technology, was facing an enemy it could not defeat. Then, a young Zaffron scientist named Kelter spoke up. "I've been analyzing the data," he said quietly. "The Devourers operate on pure logic and mathematical precision. They analyze, adapt, and overcome through calculated responses. Their one potential weakness is something they cannot calculate." "And what is that?" Zor-El asked. "An enemy that doesn't follow any logical pattern. An enemy that makes decisions based on emotion, on chaos, on sheer, stubborn unpredictability." The chamber fell silent as the horrifying implications sank in. Zor-El spoke the word as if it were a curse. "The humans." For 3 days, Zor-El's personal ship hung at the edge of human space, blocked by an energy barrier his sensors couldn't even identify. For 3 days, he had broadcast the same message. A message of desperation. A plea for help. Finally, a channel opened. The face of Fleet Commander Anya Rostova appeared on his view screen. She was not the diplomat her sister was. Her eyes were chips of ice. Her uniform was a strange, advanced composite he didn't recognize. "High Executor Zor-El," she said, her voice as cold as the void. "You're persistent. I'll give you that." "Commander, we were wrong," Zor-El began, the words tasting like ash. "We were afraid of your strength, so we called it violence. We were threatened by your passion, so we called it instability. The galaxy is dying. We need your help." Anya's expression didn't change. "You think we haven't been fighting them already?" The screen split, showing a live tactical display that made Zor-El's blood run cold. Hundreds of human ships, sleek and organic-looking, moved in chaotic, impossible formations, engaging a Devourer vessel. They zigzagged randomly, broke formation, and fired weapons in patterns that defied all military logic. "The Devourers analyze and adapt to logic," Anya explained, her voice sharp. "But they cannot adapt to chaos. They can't predict actions with no logical basis. When we attack them with pure, stubborn human emotion, their processing systems overload." On the screen, the massive Devourer ship, which could HFY annihilated a conclave fleet, was forced to retreat from the unpredictable human swarm. "How?" Zor-El whispered. "How did you learn this?" "The hard way," Anya said grimly. "They hit our outer colonies first. But we had something you don't. Humans who refused to die quietly. We didn't just fight them. We studied them. We captured their technology, reverse-engineered it, and then we did something they never expected. We merged their cold logic with human intuition." She gestured to her own bridge crew. Zor-El could now see that their control panels seemed to grow from the walls like living tissue, with cables that pulsed like veins. "These ships think like machines, but they fight like humans," Anya declared. They are unpredictable because we are unpredictable, and they fight with a fury that no purely logical being can understand. There was a long silence. "We're begging you," Zor-El said, the last of his pride gone. "Please, help us." Anya stared at him, her gaze unwavering. "You want us to risk human lives to save the species that called us monsters? You want us to die for beings who told us we were unfit for civilized society?" "Yes," Zor-El said quietly, "because you are better than we are." For a moment, a flicker of pain crossed Anya's face. The memory of her sister's heartbroken report, the sting of rejection. Then, her expression hardened back into steel. "We're not doing this for the Conclave," she said. "We're not doing it for your gratitude. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Because that's what humans do when innocent people are in danger. Even people who hate us." She leaned closer to the camera. "But we fight our way. With our tactics. And when this is over, things are going to be different. The galaxy is going to have to accept that humanity is here. We're dangerous. And we are exactly what you need us to be." The transmission ended. Outside Zor-El's ship, the massive energy barrier around human space began to shift. Gaps appeared, and from those gaps, a flood of sleek, dark, and terrifyingly chaotic ships poured out into the galaxy. The humans were coming, and they were bringing chaos with them. The Battle of Zia Prime was the turning point. 3 massive devourer ships held orbit over the Athelian homeworld, preparing to deliver the final blow to 5 billion souls. The last of the Athelian Defense Force was moments from annihilation. Then, they arrived. Dozens of human ships, emerging from FTL not in neat battle lines, but in a chaotic, predatory swarm. "This is Fleet Commander Anya Rostova to all Conclave forces." Her voice crackled across all channels. "Get your people clear. We're about to show these machines what humans do to bullies." The human fleet didn't engage in a firefight. They scattered, attacking from every direction at once, their movements so random that the Devourer's targeting systems couldn't lock on. They threw themselves in front of refugee transports, their living hulls regenerating damage that should have destroyed them. As the largest Devourer ship charged a planet-killing weapon, Anya's flagship, the Vengeance, flew directly at it. "You want to know what makes us different?" she broadcast on all frequencies, her voice a roar of defiance aimed at the soulless machines. "We don't calculate odds. When someone threatens innocent people, we don't ask if we can win. We ask what's right." Her ship slammed into the Devourer weapon array just as it fired. The explosion was brighter than a sun. When the light faded, both ships were gone, but the planet was still there. The remaining Devourers, their command vessel destroyed, began to fall back. The human fleet pursued them with a passion and fury that was terrifying to behold. Anya survived, recovered from a lone escape pod. And in the months that followed, the pattern was repeated across the galaxy. Human fleets, fighting with chaos and instinct, began pushing the machines back. They taught the Conclave species to trust their guts over their computers. They shared their hybrid technology, refitting Council ships with living components that adapted and fought with human determination. 6 months later, the last Devourer ship was driven from the galaxy. At the victory celebration on Zia Prime, a humbled Zor-El stood before the surviving delegates. "Today," he announced, "we offer humanity not just membership in the Galactic Conclave, but leadership." The vote was unanimous. But Anya Rostova, scarred but unbroken, stood to accept on humanity's behalf. Her words surprised everyone. "We accept," she said, "not as your leaders, as your partners. The galaxy doesn't need humans telling everyone what to do. It needs all of us, working together. Our differences are our strength, not a threat." In the years that followed, the Conclave was reborn. Athelian logic was tempered by human passion. Chiton determination was balanced by silicate patience. A new, stronger civilization rose from the ashes of the old. But they never forgot the lesson. High Executor Zor-El often played the recording of Ambassador Eva Rostova's final words from the day they had rejected humanity. "Someday you may find that the galaxy needs beings who are willing to fight, to feel, and to sacrifice everything for what they believe in." That day had come, and the galaxy had been saved, not by cold logic or ancient wisdom, but by the one thing the Conclave had feared most: hope. The Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave was a monument to order. Massive pillars of crystallized starlight held up a ceiling that mirrored the calm, swirling nebulae of the core worlds. Here, representatives from 47 ancient species, beings of logic and light, had maintained peace for 10,000 years. But today, a new species stands trial. A young, chaotic race from a forgotten corner of the galaxy. A species they deemed too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable to join their peaceful alliance. Anya survived, recovered from a lone escape pod. And in the months that followed, the pattern was repeated across the galaxy. Human fleets, fighting with chaos and instinct, began pushing the machines back. They taught the conclave species to trust their guts over their computers. They shared their hybrid technology, refitting council ships with living components that adapted and fought with human determination. Feel, and to sacrifice everything for what they believe in. That day had come, and the galaxy had been saved, not by cold logic or ancient wisdom, but by the one thing the conclave had feared most: